It's the Underdogs back with you for another episode. I'm Jordan Brenner, joined as always by Peter Keating. What's up, PK?
How's it going? This is the great time of year, isn't it? It's the opposite of those dog days of summer. All of a sudden, all the sports are playing at once. It's crazy.
Everything is happening, as the kids say. And we're going to take a little break from the NFL for a moment because right around the corner is my favorite sport. The NBA is coming back, and we have the official Underdogs NBA season preview. You like the sound of that, Peter?
I do. The balls are bigger, the bounces are truer. It's NBA action.
Can we clip that and just play that over? And look, do we have an Underdog soundboard
Every,
yet of
every
Peter
week,
just
I,
going, the
every
balls
week,
are bigger?
and the bounces are truer. Every week, I
Well,
try to give you a new slogan, Jordan. Come on.
thanks. Well, let's get that out on social. You know, just Peter on a loop. The balls are bigger. The balls are bigger. All right. Speaking of big ball, Peter, I'm going to start you with some big stats. Okay. This
Speaking
is
of what, who, what? Oh, big
big
ball.
ball.
Oh, okay.
Some
I'm
big
sorry.
stats.
Okay.
Come on, man.
All
Don't
right.
don't mess with my segue. I'm so good. No. All right. I want to take you through. We've talked a lot about the increasing parity in the NBA in the couple seasons we've done this show, right? Like that's been a central theme of what we've talked about in this sport. And I think here's something that really illustrates it. So stay with me, Peter, because I know this can be very confusing for you. But okay. Starting with the end of the real Warriors Durant version of their dynasty, okay? So since the 2019 finals, here's the teams that have won the West, okay? The
Mm-hmm.
Lakers were the NBA champions in 2020. The year before, 2018-19, they finished 10th in the Western Conference. The next year, 2021, the Suns won the West after finishing ninth the year before. The following year, it was a Warriors revival. They were the NBA champions after finishing ninth the year before. 2 seasons ago, Denver won the championship after finishing sixth in 2021-22. And last season, Dallas reached the NBA Finals, winning the West after finishing 11th the year before. So, sum it all up, and the last five Western Conference champions all have been sixth place teams or worse the season before, and four of the five were ninth or worse. That is unprecedented in the NBA history. Some of it speaks to player movement, but some of it speaks to the fact that there is a narrower gap between top teams and mid-tier teams than we've ever seen in this league.
Well, you have the breakup or at least the reformulation of a great dynasty, right? Often the trigger to an era of greater parity. So the Warriors, utterly dominant. The minute they aren't, other teams can emerge. You also have something you've talked about a lot, which is the emergence of mobile big men coming back into vogue, right? That there's something going on where there's a style shift and a discovery of new talents and some new unicorn players coming into the league. The teams that adapted to that first got their hands on those kinds of players, improved drastically, and for long-term improvement, right? So all of a sudden, there's a whole handful of teams that really weren't championship contenders before that are now championship contenders every year. It's a recipe for a lot of exciting movement at the top and a lot of churn. And I would just say, it's not like we can always predict how that's going to go season to season. If you think about some of the teams that have made the conference finals over just the past few years, right? Dallas last year, preseason odds for a championship, plus 2,500. Miami, we talked about them all for months the year before as one of the all-time upset candidates for a championship, right? I mean, Toronto won it all just 5 years ago, right? What were they? They were something like plus 2,000 going into the season. So as the churn goes, there's a chaos there. It's not, the results are not predictable. It's not just like this player went here and that destination improves automatically, right? Things are
Well,
more unpredictable as a result of all the stuff you're talking about.
well, the other thing before we dive into a couple of teams that fit that paradigm we're talking about of teams that were sixth or below, maybe even out of the playoffs last year, is I know you talk about injury luck and the assumption of health. And we're at a point again where there's more of an even disparate, even spreading of talent among these teams, so that one or two injuries can really shift the way a conference lines up. And I think, to your point, for some chronically injured players, we got to stop assuming full health and start
Right.
assuming that something
Right.
is going to go wrong.
Look, we talk about this with the NFL because at the beginning of the NFL season, every team preview says if this guy comes back, if this guy performs as well as he should, this team can do X. And nobody ever says, well, if this guy plays to his historical norm of getting hurt all the time, that's why this team's going to be bad, because right now it's an optimistic time of year. But when we
Mhm.
talk about some of these teams, I mean, I'll just bring them up right now. I mean, of all the teams we're going to look at, the Lakers actually have probably the shortest odds. They're plus 3,000 to win a championship. Jordan, before last year, LeBron James and Anthony Davis missed 40% of the Lakers' games combined. You cannot take last year when LeBron played more games than any point since he left Cleveland, right? And say that's going to continue. They played something like 150 games last year. You can't assume that again for that team. You can't assume Anthony Davis and LeBron James are going to play more than 70 games apiece. But that's right now. This is the time of year to take advantage of the fact that everyone else is assuming that, because everyone else is looking at these teams with hopeful eyes.
Right. So the Lakers fit that paradigm of teams outside of last year's top six who could win the conference. And if you look at the odds to win the West, it really comes into at least two, maybe three groups. Okay. You start at the
Right.
top. The Thunder are the favorites at plus 310. And then the Nuggets, Mavs, and Timberwolves are all between plus 475 and plus 500. Then you've got a little break and you go to the Lakers at plus 1400, the Suns at plus 1500, the Grizzlies at plus 1600, and the Warriors at plus 1700. Then you drop to the Pelicans at plus 2,200, the Kings at plus 2,800, the Clippers at plus 4,000, and the Rockets at plus 6,500. I bring this up because when we get to the East, it's a very different look. But let's look in that group outside of the first tier, outside of that Thunder, Nuggets, Mavs, Timberwolves group, and I do this every year, but I'm eyeing the Pelicans again at plus 2,200 because again they fit that paradigm. They finished seventh in the conference last year. No, eighth in the. They won 49 games. That they played in the play-in tournament, and look, they've made a huge move to bring in DeJounte Murray. I'm not sure anyone 1 through 4 is deeper and more versatile in the NBA. Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, obviously Murray, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. That is deep, versatile, lots of different skill sets, and just an exciting group. Obviously, they have a huge, huge hole at center, and people are lining up to say, well, that's why they can't do anything. But here's my point, Peter. What we've said for a while now is replacement level at center is higher than probably any other position. And what centers are being asked to do today, largely set ball screens, dive to the rim, be able to play multiple coverages on defense, is very different than what they were asked to do a decade ago. So I think they'll be able to make moves in the season. We will see what they do.
Wait. I was with you up into the last 10 seconds. You're saying replacement level. I agree with this. Replacement level is higher at center. That suggests that it's harder to replace
No.
talent at center.
No, the complete opposite. There's a surplus of centers who do the basic job.
The basic job, but you're talking about to be a good center, you have to actually be better than you used to be if replacement level is higher. Well, then replacement level is lower.
I'm saying that
you can pick up a cheap center almost anywhere.
I'm saying the replacement level center is a pretty good player right now.
Okay. Well, then why haven't they replaced somebody? Why don't they have a replacement level center on the roster? Jordan,
because I think
Herb Jones is starting at center right now.
No, he's
Last
not.
year, he's gonna. Willie Green just said 3 days ago that they're going to experiment with Zion at power forward and Herb Jones at center. And Herb Jones, one of my favorite players in basketball. We've talked about him for 2 years. One of the greatest defenders in the league. 1.0 rebounds per game last year.
Yes, he's not a center. They're going to play
Zion. 1.7 rebounds per game. When can they play?
They're going to play. Let me finish. They're going to play some small ball, but they have two things. One, Daniel Tice has proven to be a serviceable center at times in this league. Two, they have Misi as a rookie who's going to develop, who could easily develop the way Derek Lively did last year for Dallas. But again, the third thing is this roster isn't complete. And the easiest thing it'll be able to do midseason is go out and find another serviceable center. And they could do better than that if they finally decide to trade Brandon Ingram. The point being, they have way more of a more coveted commodity which is wing talent and depth, and that will give them the ability to make moves that they want to make. So
I completely agree with that. And I like the Pelicans. I just want to, there's a little warning signal, which is when Zion, McCollum, Ingram, and Jones were on the floor together last year, they were outscored. Now I know Murray's coming into that, and I know they might trade Ingram, but and I like Missy. I loved him at Baylor. But this is an incomplete product on the court right now.
possibly, but teams have experimented a lot with positionless basketball. This team can gang rebound. I'm more worried about defensively, but again, Herb Jones is a fantastic defend off five positions at once center. Maybe they're trying to turn him into a little version of Draymond Green. I don't know. But I think there's a lot to like with what they're doing. But I know you have your eyes on another team in that range that, again, fell way off last year. Hit me with it.
Well, we talked about injury luck, and good Lord, the Memphis Grizzlies used 33 players, Jordan. 33 players last year. That's a record. 51 lineups. I can't even, like, how is that even possible? 20 Grizzlies were injured last year. I mean, that's more than two entire teams. It's kind of nuts. And so, look, John Morant's, as far as we know, been quiet this offseason and is could be back to his old self on the court. They got Desmond Bain, and now they got just what they needed. Talk about filling a hole at center. They got Zach Edey, and he needed to bring his skills to a team that needed his skills and not more than that, right? He's plugging exactly the hole they needed to plug. I think the Grizzlies are due for a huge bounce back season. They would be even if they hadn't had a good draft, and they had a good draft. And it's kind of crazy to me that their odds are longer than the Lakers or even Phoenix right now.
I have some very significant concerns about Zach Edey playing major minutes in the way the NBA is played today. I don't know who he's going to guard and how he's going to guard them. Now, there will be some matchups where they may want to punish teams on the block because I don't know who's going to score, who's going to guard him close to the basket either. But by and large, we've seen big plotting centers played off the floor, especially in the playoffs, just given the way the game is played today with so much pick and roll, with small ball, etc. So that's hard. You're right, though. Look, if you start with a trio of Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, and John Morant, those are three key pieces at three of the most important spots in the NBA. The question, again, is can those guys stay healthy? Can Marcus Smart stay healthy? So
yes,
there are a lot of assumptions there, and I'm a little worried about their depth, but absolutely they follow in line with some of these other teams that have had bad luck, things go wrong one year and made a big jump up the standings the next year. The other thing I'll say is this. We've seen teams fall way up way quicker than expected.
Yep.
Which puts my eyes on two remaining teams in the West, okay? One is the Rockets. They're plus 6,500 to win the West. Outside of the Thunder, I don't think anyone has more young talent in the league. They're overloaded with guys who could probably start. I just don't think that talent is fully realized in some cases yet, but they're going to be super fun to watch. They've got a ton of guards scoring. Sengun is terrific in the middle. They're fun to watch. The other, Peter, and this may be the last time we can
wait,
ever
doesn't
talk.
Houston feel like a good bet to be precisely the kind of team we're talking about a year from now? Like taking a leap from like 36 wins to 50 wins or something like next season?
Yes. And the big move is going to be when do they consolidate? When do they put two or three of those guys into a package for a true superstar? The other team, which may make this all irrelevant within another year, but maybe it happens sooner, is San Antonio, because Victor Wembanyama may just be that much better than everyone else really soon.
Jordan, is he already the best defensive player in the NBA?
He might.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it? It's
Right.
kind of crazy.
And they've improved the roster. Look, they've brought in Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes as veterans. Obviously, the fact that Devin Vassell is hurt again is troubling. But I'm just saying, look, do I think they're going to win the West? No, but again, we've seen these teams, Oklahoma City, rise up way quicker than anyone expected. So if Victor Wembanyama is suddenly the best player in the NBA this season, and Greg Popovich is their coach, can this team go from 22 to 45 wins? It's not crazy.
No, it'll be in a lot of close games, and they're not going to lose. They're not going to lose 60, right? They're going to be at that hump where every game, every night is a contest. They feel more like a 500 team than the worst team in the conference.
The bottom of the East is so
Right.
much worse than the bottom of the West. And that, Peter, brings us to a very special part of each week's show. It's our Under of the Week, which is brought to you by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code Underdogs and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Underdogs only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And Peter, the bottom of the East is terrible. There is real incentive this year to tank with a loaded draft that has Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm locking onto a really low under for a really bad team. I like the Wizards to win fewer than 20 and a half games. Here's a couple stats for you. First of all,
Jordan, usually the worst teams don't have a lot more. I mean, the very worst teams, which just teams don't have a lot farther to fall. But go ahead, I believe you. There is a
all right.
case that this one does.
First of all, the Wizards only won 15 games last year, and I think their roster is worse. So let's start with that.
Right.
Just if you look at what the worst teams in the league tend to do, since 2007-08, so that's the past 17 seasons, 13 times the worst team in the league won fewer than 20 games. The three other times they won exactly 20, which would hit our under. So 16, and the one other time they won 21. Do I think the Wizards are the worst team? Yes. Maybe them or the Nets. They went 50, as I said, 15 and 67 last year, and the roster is worse. Their best player last year by advanced metrics was Denny Avdia. He's a trailblazer now. They brought in Malcolm Brogdon.
Yep.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
Trey Jones. Their backcourt is the incredibly inefficient duo of Jordan Poole and Bilal Coulibaly. If you're looking to tank, just have Jordan Poole take 30 shots a game. Kyle Kuzma is
and
the
he'll
three.
do it. And
yeah.
he'll do it.
Kyle Kuzma is the 3, and I'd be shocked if he's not finally traded this year. Alex Sarr is playing the 4 at 19 years old and is incredibly raw. And again, with so much incentive to tank for this team, where are they getting 21 wins?
Jordan, they're second and third best players by advanced metrics. Tyus Jones and Daniel Gafford, they're also gone. Somehow this team took a 15-win program and stripped it of its talent. I mean, well, you know what? It means they're probably trying. And I'll tell you something. In general, I don't like tanking because there's no guarantee you're going to get a player. Stripping a team of all your talent is not good to develop either the player you're going to get or the players who are still on the roster. Sometimes it messes around with the teams that are trying to win playoff spots. But I mean, maybe this year a blatant this blatant an example is worth it. I mean, I don't know. Is if you put Cooper Flagg on this team, is it going to? How good's it going to be?
Not right away, but this plan worked pretty well in Oklahoma City twice. It's working in San Antonio right now. The worst place in the NBA to be forever is the middle, and you can't pay superstar money. So Washington did the right thing getting rid of Bradley Beal. They did the right thing moving off veterans.
They did, but they were paying him too much money to begin with.
Right. So they're moving off veterans who aren't worth their salaries, and they're starting over. We're not saying Cooper Flagg's going to turn them into a contender right away, but they have to restart somehow. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
and by the way, they're not alone. The Nets had to do that. The Bulls need to do that. The bottom of this conference is terrible. And when you look at the odds to win the conference, that backs it up. Okay, you've got the Celtics are the prohibitive favorites at plus 155. Then the Knicks at plus 400. The 76ers at plus 450. The Bucks at plus 600. Then the Heat, Cavs, Magic, and Pacers all fall in between plus 2,000 and plus 2,500. And there's a massive drop to the ninth team. I think Atlanta's at like plus 16,000 or something like that. So at least by the odds, there's a pretty clear 8-team playoff field in the East. The really interesting thing is when you start to say, okay, who's the 7th team? Who's the 8th team? Like you end up with like the Pacers who made the conference finals last year. So the competition among those 8 teams is awesome.
What do you think about Orlando? We identified Orlando last holiday season as a cool underdog team in the East. They forced tons of turnovers. They were playing with extreme intensity. They have obviously an interesting core of younger players. Banchero was playing out of his mind. Jalen Suggs is a great defensive guard. But much like our concerns about incomplete teams in the West and what are they going to do during the season to kind of course correct, Orlando has not really developed a true point guard even now, right? I mean, do you believe in Cole Anthony or Anthony Black? You believe the solution to the point guard problem is on the roster? Because I love Orlando and I love watching them play, and they're such a pest to play, right? But Jordan, the last 4 years, 22nd, 17th, 16th, 26th in offensive efficiency. They need a playmaking point guard.
Well, okay. Let's back up. First of all, they were my preseason sleeper pick last year.
Right.
They certainly developed on defense way faster than you expect out of a young team. I think Jalen Suggs is absolutely fine as their point guard, especially defensively, and especially because on that team, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are going to be initiating most of the offense. Do I think down the line they may need to upgrade at the point? Yeah, but I think they're okay with Suggs right now. He's still tapping into his upside. I also think the addition of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a really nice fit as a 3-and-D wing. I don't think they're there yet. I think these younger players need to mature more. They're going to need Anthony Black eventually. His trajectory is slower than some of these others. The biggest thing is I just don't see where they fit into this crowded contention field. I'm more intrigued by Cleveland, to be honest. That team has a ton of talent. John Hollinger, our buddy, has them projected for 56 wins and second in the conference, which really caught my eye the other day. Because I think everyone still looks at them as sort of like a 4 or 5 seed, or maybe they could slip to 6-7, given how the Knicks have improved, the Bucks' potential return to health, etc. But the bottom line, when Garland and Mitchell and Allen and Mobley are on the floor together, they're really good, and they do have some 3-and-D type wings to support them. Can Evan Mobley step up to be a true offensive talent? I don't know, but that's one team outside of the top I'd watch for.
So let me just ask you quickly then. Last year, only 2 teams won 50 games in the East. The Celtics and the Knicks were at 50 even. If we're expecting improvement from the Knicks, possibly from the Bucks, and the Celtics to be a really strong team, where are the missing wins going to fall out from? We haven't mentioned Philadelphia.
The Wizards.
Okay. Yeah, but they can't get much worse. They were, I mean, even if they hit their under, they only won 15 games last year. Are we thinking that Philadelphia is not going to hit their over under of 52.5? I mean, who's going to be worse in the East is what I'm wondering.
It's a great question because you can look, the Pacers, right, seem like a logical team to fall off, but they played great basketball after they got Siakam. And by the way, so we don't even see their full potential of having a healthy Siakam and a healthy Halliburton for a full season. So that's a great question. Could the Bucks totally fall apart with injuries? I don't know. On the other hand, if Lillard and Giannis get together and Chris Middleton comes back in time, this team can win the conference. So it's hard to find a true underdog pick. I think the Cavs would be, if you look for a team outside of the top 4, then maybe the Cavs are the team that could emerge. But we didn't even talk about the Knicks and the Celtics, and we've got 2 minutes left.
We have time. Look, we're going to have a running debate all season who won that Knicks-Wolves trade, and we're going to have a running debate all season which philosophy is looking better, right? New Orleans or Memphis. I'll leave you with one idea, Jordan. The fun you can have with a tanking team. Cam Thomas, okay, on the Nets. We're headed deeper than my basement goes. Plus 4,000 to win most improved player. He's the only guy going to take shots. He's loving to take shots. He had 22.5 points a game last year. If he goes up to 28, 29 points, plus 4,000 to win most improved player on one of the worst teams in the league. How do you like that?
I like it, and I like him as a fantasy target too. He's going to take a lot of shots, have the ball in his hands a lot, and
Absolutely.
And they still have Ben Simmons.
The question mark of all question marks.
Of all question marks. Well, you know what's not a question mark, Peter?
Our under of the week.
And the fact that we delivered another amazing show with our NBA preview. So check us out if you want to talk some hoops, you want to talk NBA underdogs, check us out on X. He's at Peter Keating, NJ, like New Jersey. I'm at Jordan Brenner. Until next time, get ready for the NBA. Go Yankees. Bet on some football this weekend. Enjoy the fall.